A brand new gameplay for Assassin's Creed Shadows just got leaked, and even though I hate everything that's been going on with this game, I've got to say this honestly, the leaks look incredible. Now apparently this was supposed to be a devlog that Ubisoft was supposed to be showcasing in the Tokyo Game Fest, but then they ended up cancelling it because the game got delayed and whatnot. But the developers of Assassin's Creed Shadows have shared a lot of gameplay details, and honestly, after I got to take a look at what's really going on with this game, I've truly got to admit it looks incredible. And today we're going to take a look at everything that the game has to offer. Now starting off, the narrative director of Assassin's Creed Shadows, now she has shared some information about the basic setting of the game, and she has now confirmed that the game is going to be set during the War of Japanese era, which means that the open world that we're going to be playing in is kind of going to be very similar to what we've already experienced with Ghost of Tsushima, where Japan was at war with Genghis Khan and he was conquering their lands, and there was no freedom for people inside of Japan. There were enemies capturing different territories, and the country was basically taken over. Now the similar situation goes on with Assassin's Creed Shadows, where there is a civil war that broke in and there are different kingdoms that is a war, and that's basically the setting in which Assassin's Creed Shadows takes place in. Now the game director of Assassin's Creed, Charles, has actually given us some more details about the brand new dynamic system that Ubisoft has never done before in any other games. Now he has said that this is going to be the first game that Ubisoft has ever brought in this kind of a new technology into video games, and as far as what I've heard and seen, it actually looks like this game could honestly be very ambitious. And even though it has a lot of controversies and misled historical references, I however still think if we look at the game from a gameplay perspective and from a technological perspective, it does kind of improve a lot compared to all the previous Assassin's Creed games so far. But the game will have multiple seasons, and seasons are not just going to be different weather systems where you have snowfall, sunny weather, rainy weather, and all that stuff. It's basic stuff that we've already seen in many video games so far. But this time in the dynamic weather system, it's going to be a lot different. And the reason why it's different is because Charles, game director, has now said that there are going to be some natural disasters in the game, such as very strong winds, which you will come across in the game, and this is going to happen dynamically. And these winds are not going to be normal. It's going to destroy a lot of things around the environment and the map itself. Buildings are going to fly off. It's probably similar to what we see with the hurricane situations. Everything around us is going to be destroyed, and that's how strong the winds are going to be. So the best example that Ubisoft has given is that when you have like huge heavy wind blowing out, you can actually see that flowers from trees are going to be blown away with the heavy wind, and you'll also see some small plants and trees that are going to be falling off and breaking on its own with all of these dynamic features implemented. Now not just that, he has also confirmed that there is going to be rain in this game, and rain is going to have different types of rain. Now he hasn't specifically told what are these different types of rain. I believe that the rains that we're going to be coming across, one, it's going to be some sort of an acid rain, and the second one could be like the heavy windstorm rain, which could cause a lot of destruction rather than just making the environment wet. Now heavy rainfall in the game is of course going to be increasing the water level in the ponds and lakes, which will be changing the way everything looks around in the world. And you can also use the rainwater, which gets filled up and ponds and lakes are created, can now be used in order to swim across, and these locations are going to be differentiating on how you strategize your each missions, because sometimes the same location might be completely dry, you might see no water at all, and then in some instances there might be some heavy rain and the same location could be filled with a huge pond or a lake. So now rather than just running across the field, you'll have to swim across the field, and the same goes for snowfall. And then there's also going to be some blizzard snowfall where it's going to freeze everything. The lakes and the water bodies are going to be completely frozen, and that's where you need to choose a completely different approach in terms of how you're going to be handling all the different situations in a mission. So every player that's going to be playing the game is going to have a completely different experience and different strategies that you yourself need to implement based on all of these improved dynamic weather system. Now some of the environmental effects that the game director has confirmed is number one going to be destruction that is going to be caused by natural calamities like heavy winds, storms, and blizzard storm and all that stuff. So it's definitely going to be causing a lot of destruction in the environment. And two, there's also going to be blossom of flowers, plants plants are going to grow. Plants are now going to regrow back if there is a lot of rain in that location. So it's not just plants, you'll also see a lot of flowers and fruits and natural vegetation that's dynamically going to be growing as you get a lot of rainfalls in that location. So that already makes me excited to see that this is something that I've never seen in any other Assassin's Creed games before. And the game director has also said that when it's snowing or raining, the terrain is going to be very slippery. So your character will kind of slip away and might also end up failing parkour. So like say for example, you're jumping across one roof to another and it's snowy weather. So you need to be careful in terms of how you're trying the parkour system and which type of weather is going to be favoring. So if it's heavy rain or snowfall, the roofs are going to be slippery, which means that your character will definitely slip and fall off, and this could jeopardize the kind of parkour that you're trying to do. Ubisoft has also said that going on top of the roofs during snowfall and winter season, it's going to have all of these snow and ice shards that are collected on top of the roofs, and these things are going to fall off if you start running on the roof. So once they fall, the enemies are going to notice it and they will know that someone is on the roof, and enemies will grow suspicious and they will check the location to see if someone is on the roof or not. So these things are definitely improved in terms of both AI system as well as the dynamic weather system. Apparently it seems like there's going to be snowstorm, windstorm and sandstorm in the game, and these heavy storms and winds are going to be helping you. At the same time, it's also going to jeopardize the strategies of your stealth system, because if you have a heavy storm or heavy wind, it's going to make your visibility much lesser. At the same time, enemies are also not going to be able to see you, or even they'll not be able to hear your movements, or if you fall off the roof, they'll not be able to hear that. And also the torch inside the game, the fires, the candles, the torch, the lamps and all that stuff, it's going to be extinguished if it's not set in a location where the wind is not going to blow it out. So these things are all going to be dynamic. And also if you walk across the market and you see a heavy wind or blizzard just passing by, you'll actually see a lot of items from the marketplace like fruits and vegetables and all the items that they've kept in the stalls for sale. These items are going to fly off due to heavy wind, and all the objects are going to fly, it's going to fall and break, and buildings and roofs and all these things are going to break. So destruction in this game is gone 100%, and Ubisoft says that every single object in the game is individually stranded. And we'll get to this detail in just a bit, but before that, Ubisoft has now said that there's going to be this new prone system which is going to be way more helpful, and it's also going to be based on the weather system. So let's say for example your mission takes place in a snowy weather and everything is covered in snow. So now we can now blend through the snow on the floor, so you can go prone and then cover yourself up with all the snow. It's kind of very similar to what we've seen with Ghost Recon Breakpoint, where you can cover yourself with the mud. So you're kind of going to do the same with Assassin's Creed Shadows as well. So you can use the environment like snow, sand or even mud in order to cover yourself up so that the enemies are not going to be able to spot you. And now guys, let's move on to much more technical details about the game and how the motion graphics, 3D models, texturing and all that things works in Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now, Nicholas from Ubisoft, who is a rendering and technical architect, has now shared some incredible details about the all-new 4D motion capture animation technology that Ubisoft has just introduced for the very first time in Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now, the way that everything works in this world is basically each and every single object is now individually stranded. And when I say individually stranded, it also comes down to every single layer of your hair strands. Now, Nicholas states that previously in most of the other Assassin's Creed games, you might have seen that hair has always been a very huge problem. But no matter how good the graphics of the game is and how good the graphics of the textures of skin and terrain and environment looks, it was always a big pain in the ass when it comes to recreating the realistic physics of your hair. And now it seems like they've finally come across a brand new solution, which is the new 4D motion capture system, which helps them to individually strand every single one of your hair, and these hair are going to be moving according to natural physics. And it's not just with the hair, it also goes with clothing physics, and also every single object in the environment is individually stranded, which means that every single object in the open world is going to be breakable or movable based on all the different objects crashing into each other. Now, one of the examples that Nicholas has given here is that the katana in the game is known to be one of the sharpest weapons back in the time, and ancient Japan is well known when it comes to having one of the sharpest blades in the history of humankind. And katana being one of the sharpest weapons, it doesn't matter if you're going to be playing as Yasuke or Naoe. If you're going to be using the katana, then you will definitely be slicing almost everything in the open world, from doors to fruit fruits and vegetables to trees and everything around the world that you see, including other NPCs. Because this game now has some very realistic dismemberment feature where you can cut off every single limb of a human, and that's gonna look so realistic. And katana being one of the most sharpest weapons, you can cut through almost anything in the world. And it's not just with katana, you can also use your own body in order to just crash into items, and the items are gonna get scattered, and you can literally break boxes, and you can even run through doors as Yasuke, because him being a huge character is gonna be able to break through these paper walls that are usually known to be the traditional ways of constructing houses in ancient Japan. So you can run through walls and doors, and these objects are now going to be able to break. And the same goes for plants. So if you run through the plants using your horse or your body yourself, these little plants are going to be broken. And this also goes for trees. If you're trying to chop the trees off, that's also going to be working the game. Now, the best part about how this brings in a whole new option of performing stealth in Assassin's Creed Shadows, where you can now assassinate your enemies through the paper doors. And it's not just paper doors, you can even shoot through the wooden doors if you have a gun. So it seems like the environment is going to be extremely destructible. And from gameplay perspective, it seems like Assassin's Creed Shadows is definitely extremely ambitious project. And now it's finally time that we talk about the open world and exploration of feudal Japan. Now, Danny from Ubisoft, who's another game director of Assassin's Creed Shadows, has now shared about synchronization points and how it's going to be working very different from what we've already seen in previous Assassin's Creed games. Now, for the very first time, synchronization points are going to be very less guided, and it's not going to be revealing much information to players, but rather you will now be able to see question marks all over the map. So you never know what these question marks are. So each and every single objective in the game is going to only be stated using this question mark. So you will have to go ahead and explore these locations in order to go find out what these question marks really are. Now, this could be random events, main quest, or even side quest, or even collectible items and all that stuff. So all of these things are only going to be marked as question marks, so you really don't know what you're looking for. So the game is kind of encouraging players in order to go ahead and explore rather than just rushing through the game. So I think it's a really good concept in order to, force players in order to go ahead and explore the world and truly find out what this game has to offer. Now, there's a new system in this game called scouting system, where you can send one of your scouts to a particular location in the map, and these scouts are going to be giving you some limited amount of information about what you're going to be finding in this location. So you'll have to physically send your scouts and wait for them to reveal some information to you, and after they do that, you'll have to go down to this location yourself and investigate and see what's really going on from all the information that your scouts have gathered up. And the game director now states that this is going to be encouraging players in order to get invested into explorations and missions that they might have never even expected. And the best part is that every single Assassin's Creed Shadows player is going to be experiencing a completely different kind of experience with every single random encounters and missions, because the weather system is going to be affecting on what kind of missions you're going to be getting and how you're going to be tackling each and every missions based on how the environment is going to be favoring. So it's going to give you a completely different experience each time you play it. So obviously, if you end up watching someone on YouTube playing the game, they might have a completely different kind of experience from what you personally had in your playthrough. So that already makes me excited to see what kind of different things we're going to be finding in the open world and what kind of different encounters all of you players are going to have that is going to be completely different from my own playthroughs. Now, Danny has also stated that moving from point A to point B in a map is now going to be encouraging players to not use fast travel mode, because the open world is now designed in such a way that once you start traveling from point A to point B, you'll come across so many random missions, just like Red Dead Redemption 2, where you have so many random encounters, and every time you just walk across the open world, you'll come across a bear that's attacking you, or maybe it's a mountain lion, or you might even find some weird NPCs doing some really random awkward stuff. And the game is always kind of keeping you engaged into not knowing what you're going to be figuring out once you go out there and venture into the open world. So it's kind of very similar to that. And Danny now states that as you go from point A to point B, you will come across multiple distractions, which comes in the form of random encounters and side missions, side quests, and even some natural things that might dynamically happen, like animals and hunting, and even weather systems is going to play a huge part. And all of these things are apparently going to keep players very much engaged in terms of how the dynamic world works. Now, one of the very important things that Danny has shared is that once you come across any sort of shrines or temples in the open world, this basically means means that these locations are pretty much just going to lead you towards some sort of a dungeons or cave location where you will discover a lot of secret missions, random encounters, and also collectible items are going to be available inside, like some of the weapons and outfits and all that stuff. So when you come across shrines and temples, make sure that you go ahead and explore them, because you're definitely going to come across either with some random encounters or some valuable items that you might absolutely miss out on. So that's what he says, that we should always keep a lookout for all of the shrines and temples in the open world. Now in the very early stages of the game, you will come across this mission where Nagato, who is Naoe's father, is going to be teaching Naoe with this meditation art called the Kujikui. Now this is honestly a feature that I think that Ubisoft has ripped off from Ghost of Tsushima, because this is the same thing as what we came across in Ghost of Tsushima, known as the thought reflection, where Jin Sakai just meditates and looks into all the different locations around the open world, and he's basically going to look around his environment and he's going to reflect on his own thoughts. And doing so is going to be unlocking some sort of headband, which will then give you different types of perks. Now it's the same thing that's working out with Assassin's Creed Shadows, where Naoe and Yasuke, both of them, are going to be able to focus on this meditational art known as Kujikai, and they are supposed to meditate and focus on all the different points in the environment, and that is going to be helping players unlock new skills in the game. Now, however, the meditation system is going to be different for both Yasuke and Naoe, whereas Naoe is simply just going to meditate and Yasuke is going to use more of a combat-oriented meditation, so it's going to be very different for both of them. But this is apparently the only way in terms of unlocking new skills. So you need to go to different locations and unlock different skills. So you can either do it early on in the game by discovering all of the different points of interest in which you will be able to unlock these meditations and locations for both the characters, or you can simply just go with the flow and find all of these random locations as you please. And now coming to the final and one of the most mind-blowing and interesting new feature that Ubisoft has added in to Assassin's Creed Shadows. And yes, I'm talking about a base building. And honestly, for the very first time, we came across the settlement system in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and this was completely new, and a lot of players were very excited to see that we can have our own settlements and you can unlock all of these different buildings. And unlocking these different buildings are basically going to populate your settlement with new people coming in, and you can recruit Vikings in there, and it's going to unlock a lot of new features like having blacksmith and then hairstylist. But in Assassin's Creed Shadows, it's completely different, man. It seems like the game is taking base building to a whole another level, where you can literally customize your own base like a survival game. Now we even have a clip in which you can take a look at how the base building is going to work, and the game director has now confirmed that every player will be receiving 1 acre of plain land, and you can use this 1 acre of plain land in order to build all the structures, roads, terrains, however you wish. And this place is now going to be called as hideout. So your hideout is going to be completely unique and different based on your own taste of architectural infrastructures. So every player's base is going to be completely different. And honestly, I think now that Ubisoft has confirmed that Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to get like in co-op mode, it kind of makes me wonder that customizable hideout is going to be something that you can invite your friends and they can come into your world or your server, and they're going to be able to take a look at what you have constructed in your own hideouts. So you can go ahead and explore other players' hideout and take your own inspiration on how you want to build your hideouts and stuff. And this also means that Ubisoft is heavily going to be monetizing their game with a lot of microtransactions, where they will definitely be selling a lot of base building cosmetic items where you can purchase from Ubisoft Store. And since it's also going to be available in the co-op world, and you will now be able to allow other online players to come into your server, your world, and take a look at how your base is going to be looking. So this kind of, is going to increase a lot of microtransaction system in the game, where players will definitely be customizing their own bases by purchasing skins and cosmetic items. So it seems like the real reason as to why they did it this way is simply to sell a lot of cosmetic items in the microtransaction stores, because horses and weapons and armors just doesn't do it. But now with a lot of cosmetic items being sold for the base building, it's definitely going to be huge. So let me know down below in the comments from all the information that we have received about Assassin's Creed Shadows in today's video. Are you guys excited for this game after you've heard about what Ubisoft is bringing into Assassin's Creed Shadows? I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments. So please just take a few seconds of your valuable time and leave a comment down below, because your comment is definitely going to help improve the game, because some of the Ubisoft developers are going to be watching this video. And since the game is still not gone gold, which means that you can always suggest and give new ideas to developers in the comment section. So if your ideas are good enough, the developers might take it or might not. So it's always a good thing to go ahead and give it a shot. So please just take a few seconds, leave your feedbacks in the comments. It really means a lot if we want to see this game succeed. Now, with that being said, if you guys have gone and enjoyed this video, then please go ahead, drop a like on this video, because gathering all of this information from all the different sources and putting it together as a video took a lot of time and effort. So I would really appreciate it if you guys could show your support by dropping a like. And also, if you guys are looking for a YouTube channel that covers all the latest and the greatest information, news, updates, leaks, and every single thing that you guys need about upcoming open world games, then this channel is going to be your #1 jam. So make sure to go ahead, subscribe, turn the notifications on so you can stay updated with all the videos that I upload every single day. Now, with that being said, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on tomorrow's video. Until then, take it easy, fams, and goodbye.